Well, with the question of what is the federal government doing right, I would say not a whole lot. If you look, and it's something that every citizen needs to understand, is that all the federal government should be doing is outlined inside the Constitution. And there are a lot of things that it's doing right now that are outside those boundaries. There's a lot of legislation going through that is morally wrong, if not legally wrong, with all the things that are your defense that actually provide indefinite detention for even U.S. citizens. And when it comes to other laws that are being passed, a lot of those matters should be left right to the states. But the federal government has been taking it on themselves to pass sweeping legislation that affects all the states when it should be left as a state matter. And one of those examples that I can use that I think a lot of people here can relate with is when it comes to gay marriage. A strict constructionist of the Constitution would read that and say, oh, 10th Amendment, all power is not given to the federal government, but to the states and the people. Marriage isn't an issue in our Constitution, so it should be a matter that should be left to the states. Yet there are people in our government that are advocating federal legislation to define marriage one way or the other. So I think that in a lot of ways, our federal government is not working in a lot of ways. Not because the system is broken, but the people in there are not doing their job correctly.
Just in the same terms as you're talking about government, I wonder if you could explain how cutting back on so many federal agencies, which is, I know Ron Paul advocates, especially the Federal Reserve, you can explain how that would greater help the United States kind of balance the budget, if you will.
Well, Ron Paul wants to cut 5 federal agencies, and I might have a Rick Perry moment to forget one of them, but they are transportation, housing and urban development, the interior, commerce, and education. Now, what that alone would do is cut a massive amount of spending out of the budget. Now, when I say spending, I don't mean cutting proposed spending cuts, I mean actual cuts. Because the taxpayers are what fund those programs. They're the ones that pay the salaries of all those agencies. So, I mean, we might even hear a little bit about our national debt. That would solve a lot of issues. We'd be able to cut spending, and the people would be able to keep more of their money. So in turn, by cutting the size and scope of government and returning some of that power back to the states and not having federal taxes taken up for it, the people are going to have more money to spend, stimulate the economy, and make a better United States market.
You said that you wanted to cut school funding to the federal government. How do you propose to fund already underfunded schools if you're going to cut the federal funding?
Schooling used to be funded by the states until the 1970s, I believe, is when they came up with the Department of Education, when the federal government started getting involved and funding the school systems across the nation, trying to make like a one-size-fits-all type of thing. The whole idea of with the 10th Amendment, that each state is supposed to be its own sovereign nation, and each state should be able to take care of itself. So the funding for the school system would be taken care of at the local levels by taxes that are taken in by the state, property taxes that people pay on property, and the citizens of each individual community will have the ability to decide how much they want to spend on education, how much they want to allocate towards different programs. So, I mean, it's not like if we're going to eliminate the Department of Education and the federal government means that we're going to be cutting money to the schools. We're going to be returning the money back to the states and the local communities, which would give them the ability to be able to pay for the education. And it also would help a little bit because it would help put competition into it where each individual school would be able to offer certain courses, certain things that would be appealing and try to get people in there. And I think that would help everybody across the board.
Just a follow-up question to that. You say you put that power in the hands of specific communities. Wouldn't that create large discrepancies in the amount of education, amount of money that one community you might have versus another, depending on the demographics.
Well, that all depends on how you look at it. Like I said, we have each individual state. So there would be money coming in from the state. Like the state of Maine right now pays 55% of the school budget. The state itself, the money that comes in from the state would help equalize the education across the board. Each individual community, some communities are definitely richer than other communities. They own more property, they have a higher median income. That's something that should be taken care of at the state level and not mandated at the federal level, because each of the states, like I said, is supposed to be an individual sovereign state. And the whole intention of our founding fathers was to give each state the ability to be able to say, hey, you want to come live here because we're the greatest state here. We can't do a one-size-fits-all, and it's up to us as individuals to get involved in our local government and make these decisions at the local and the state level, not at the federal level.
This question is directed to Cody Morgan. How would you describe the political atmosphere on campus? How politically involved are students, and specifically, how are they getting involved?
Well, I would describe the political atmosphere as something like half and half. And it's more of half extreme views from both sides of the spectrum. You have one half that's really libertarian and really individual liberty, and the other half that's leaning more towards a socialist or communist idea. As for my personal experience in seeing students get politically active, I haven't seen any politics on really, other than myself, on campus yet. It's not like there are all kinds of other candidates coming to campaign and draw support from campus yet. But I do know that in 2008, when Obama was running for office, it was pretty crazy on campus. There were people there all the time standing on the sidewalk, handing out information, much the same as I do on certain days. So I think that the political climate's like half and half, but more of the extreme views from each side. There's not really a whole lot of a moderate standpoint.
We have time for one more question, and then if our panelists want to make a final kind of statement, that'll conclude our assembly. Question?
This is Tea Party founder Peter Haring. In 2010, you reported widely by the press that the Tea Party wishes to remain neutral, nonpartisan, and does not endorse candidates. If this is true, how come there is such a strong affiliation with the Republican Party?
That is a subject that has been pestering me for a while now. Originally, the Tea Party movement was not supposed to be endorsing any particular individual. As I had said earlier, the three core principles of the Tea Party movement is fiscal responsibility, constitutionally limited government, and free market. It should not have any affiliation with any of the parties whatsoever. The Republican Party, as it used to stand for, is very similar in those same core principles. And so that's why you may see a commonality of the two. The Republican Party, a good many of the people in the Tea Party are Republicans. But I believe that the two-party system itself is broken, and they're all corrupt. They're spending us into oblivion, a little over $15 trillion of debt right now. And those three core principles, particularly the constitutionally limited government and limited spending, fiscal responsibility, those should be the key factors when anybody is casting their vote, not what party that they belong to. Because if we go broke, nothing else really matters.
I'd like to give the panelists one final go. You're looking